What is up, Z Fighters? It's Manga Adventures, and today I'll be doing What If the Saiyans train before coming to Earth. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm trying to get to 5K before the end of the year. Hopefully this action-packed series will help me out, but enough shameless plugging. You guys are here for the story, so let's jump right in. We would start on a distant planet before the events of Z. The Saiyans have taken over another world, but Raditz didn't pull his weight again. There's a mission on another planet, and the residents are even mightier than the one they're on now. Vegeta doesn't need Raditz the Runts holding him back, so he thinks aloud, why not kill the dead weight and save myself some time? Raditz pleads with the prince, saying, I have a brother that could lessen the load, but a brother of Raditz does not sound too appeasing. That's when Vegeta gets an idea. 1 year. Raditz, you have 1 year to make yourself useful. If you're unable to do so by then, you're dead. Simple as that. But if you can meet the deadline, you get to keep your life. Congratulations. Raditz is nervous, but is not going to argue the prince. He asks how I can prove myself, and for Vegeta, the answer is easy. Become stronger. Your goal for now? Defeat Nappa. If Raditz thought this task was challenged before, it seems impossible. Defeat the former general of the Saiyan army? Nappa cracks his knuckles prepared to fight, and with Vegeta watching, Raditz couldn't back down. He lunges forward, and as soon as he gets close, Nappa smashes him into the ground. This more than hurt since the power level difference is over 2000. Still, he gets back up, trying his hardest to injure Nappa in any way. He throws a flurry of punches that don't even make him blink before firing his Saturday Crush, which engulfs Nappa. But once the smoke clears, he emerges unharmed and cracks his neck with a smile. He then begins to give the beatdown of a lifetime to the Runts, attacking even after he fell unconscious. But before the finishing blow is dealt, Vegeta stops him, telling his subordinate to throw him in the healing pod. This should be enough for his Saiyan's genes to kick in. Raditz wakes up, confused at what happened, not knowing how much time has passed, and one of Frieza's soldiers informs him Nappa and Vegeta went to another world to unwind before their next mission. Raditz is ready to rush over there, not wanting to let the prince down, but then it hits him. He feels amazing, even better than when he went in. He received a Zenkai. Not wanting to waste this additional power, he instead chooses to hone it before his rematch with Nappa. He trains intently for a whole month before appearing in front of his other Saiyans. The two mock him, saying, we thought you ran with your tail between your legs. But he isn't laughing. Nappa doesn't like the look of defiance on his face and charges forward. His punch is enough to send the young Saiyan flying, but he soon recovers, firing his signature Saturday Crush. Nappa awaits for it to hit, but then realizes it's much stronger than last time. He moves out the way just in time as it destroys the mountain behind him. Nappa is ready to beat on Raditz, harder than last time, saying, did you think you could catch up to me? Vegeta once again stops the fight, this time amused at the outcome, saying even a loser like him can get stronger thanks to his Saiyan genes. Nappa is hesitant to follow these orders, but he eventually throws him in the healing pod. Once Raditz gets out, he remembers the fight visually and that Nappa moved out the way of his attack instead of taking it head on. This is proof he's gotten stronger, and this latest Zenkai only made him more so. He trains twice as hard for this upcoming battle, and when he appears before Nappa, the first thing he says is his scouter must be broken because his power level is scarily close to his own. This gets a chuckle out of Vegeta, which angers the former general even more. He charges up his ki and the two clash their fists, each blow shaking their bodies to the core. This is no longer a beatdown, it's an exchange between equals. Nappa is losing his cool more and more, but all this does is give Raditz openings to land some solid blows. Tired of this, Nappa opens his mouth and fires a break cannon, which Raditz counters with his Saturday Crush, and the two beams collide, causing an explosion that catches both of them in it. They stand across from each other, ready to continue the fight, but Vegeta stops them, saying that's enough for today. He's impressed by Raditz's growth and tells Nappa he better not fall behind, or he'll be the one to die instead. He'll no longer tolerate weakness. With a new grudge against the former runt of the group, Nappa goes off to do some training on his own. While for Raditz, this has become second nature. 3 months would pass and the two would meet up to spar maybe once or twice a week. Vegeta would take notice of their growth, his Saiyan blood wanting to face it himself, so he tells them to attack him with everything they got, together. Confused at first but not wanting to refuse an order, they do as they're told, their teamwork being surprisingly good, but nothing to write home about. Vegeta would win thanks to his overwhelming strength, but this was indeed a good workout for the prince. He realizes now that it may not be long until they catch up, and he'll need to train so that doesn't happen. This puts a smile on his face because if a Saiyan like Raditz can grow this much in close to half a year, then the prince's gain should be enormous. He tells them to prepare because if they aren't ready, he will kill them. This message is enough for Raditz and Nappa to call a temporary truce, and for 3 months they train together, awaiting the day for the prince to return. They would still not be on good speaking terms after all this time, but they would learn from each other's moves. Even though no one said anything, they just picked up on it. With the addition of their rivalry making each other stronger, Vegeta would arrive and no amount of training could prepare them for the prince. The two, after sparring together for so long, are in almost perfect sync. Vegeta sees right through their movements, throwing them around like rag dolls. Tired of the abuse, they nod at each other before firing the combination attack named Saturday Cannon. But Vegeta is ready. He fires his Gallic gun, which engulfs their combined move with ease, leaving the two laying on the ground, barely alive. Not only is he satisfied with the results of his training, he wants to see if the Zenkai they receive now will overpower his natural talent. So he throws him in the healing pod. This is Nappa's first time, and he's astonished at the strength he gets. But Raditz is used to this song and dance by now. The two agree that this power won't be enough alone to defeat Vegeta. They need to learn from their last battle and come up with a plan. The two would train up before their rematch, and things would go much better, surprising the prince, who is getting angry, similar to Nappa when he first found someone who's around his strength. Once he found out these lower Saiyans were injuring him, he launches a Gallic gun with the full intent of killing them. But the two take advantage of his blind rage, dodging the attack simultaneously before firing their signature beams from two different sides. This catches Vegeta off guard, causing him to lose the fight. While Nappa looks down on him with a smug look, Raditz picks him up and heads to a nearby healing pod. The former general suggests they leave him to die. They can be the top Saiyans. But Raditz refuses. They only won because they worked together. And he wants to defeat not only Nappa, but Vegeta one day with his own power, to prove he's no longer Raditz the Runts. Nappa screams, "You'll never be able to catch up to him if he gets a Zenkai. A win is a win, every Saiyan knows that." And the two glare at each other, as if another fight is about to break out. But Raditz is the one to break eye contact, walking away, muttering, "Then I'll have to train harder than ever." And this is the end of our temporary truce. With a vein popping on the bald man's head, he reluctantly lets him go. And Vegeta emerges from the healing pod sometime later, saying even though it was 2 versus 1, he shouldn't have lost, and vows to get stronger. The three would end the year with more training, having free-for-all sparring matches now and again. Of course, Vegeta would beat Nappa and Raditz to the point of a Zenkai, but this ironically would allow the two to grasp a victory afterwards, sending Vegeta to the healing pod once again, although they didn't work together to do so. Nappa took advantage of the fact it was a free-for-all and landed a cheap shot on the prince. A year has passed and Vegeta feels he has reached the power of a Super Saiyan, 170,000. Raditz satisfied with his power of 80,000, and Nappa dissatisfied that his power level of 83,000 is so close to Raditz's. Now that Vegeta thinks he's achieved the legend of Super Saiyan, he no longer wants to follow Frieza's orders. He turns off his scouter, keeping it with him just in case they need to communicate, but this unofficially starts the Saiyan revolt. Knowing they need men, Raditz once again suggests they get his brother Kakarot, but instead of calling it a bad idea, Vegeta recalls he has a weakling brother as well. With a little training, they can prove to be useful lackeys. So the three split up, with Raditz going to Earth, Nappa going to get Tarble, while Vegeta is gonna cause some trouble for the tyrant. They agree to meet up with Vegeta to help him after training the other Saiyans, but he feels like he won't need the backup. When Raditz arrives on Earth, he's a much different person than in canon, due to being humbled through training and trials, barely being stronger than a Cyberman, to surpassing Vegeta's original power level nearly 5 times over. Believing his brother could do the same, Raditz would inform him of the situation and how they plan to defeat Frieza and free the Saiyans once and for all. Goku is excited. Not only does he have a brother, but to know that he's this strong and that Frieza guy is even stronger, he would happily agree to this, and his family and friends would welcome Raditz with open arms. Raditz didn't know much about his parents because he was shipped off as soon as he can walk due to his above than average power level for a Saiyan, but he did tell Goku all he did remember, that he looked like his father and that his mother was one of the few kind-hearted Saiyans. Raditz would not train the same as Nappa. There's no need to be unnecessarily cruel. They train in a healthy way, with communication and plenty of breaks, because rest is key. Their growth will become more beneficial when Raditz mentions planet Vegeta had 10 times more gravity than Earth. Bulma, wanting to help because a brother of Goku is a friend of hers, would make a gravity room for the two, and since Raditz was so powerful, he could withstand a higher gravity level, his max being 90 times. Meanwhile, Dr. Brees would make a big enough ship for them to travel when the day comes to face Frieza, since one pod wouldn't be enough. Goku, not being one to be left behind, would challenge himself to do the same level of gravity training as his brother. And thanks to Senzu beans and Raditz's guidance, he's able to surpass that level of gravity, going as high as 100 times, sometimes even more. His power level skyrockets to 100,000, while Raditz is 120,000. And this is only in a month. The other Z fighters, feeling Goku and his brother's growth, train themselves as well. First at the lookout, then when the two Saiyans aren't using the gravity room, they take a turn. Of course, only be able to handle around 10 times. This couldn't have happened at a better time because Vegeta contacts them saying he found information on a planet named Namek that has wish-granting orbs called Dragon Balls, and Frieza is on his way there. He beat this information out of Kui, who further explained when one of the soldiers went to invade, they found out about them, but the Namekian soldiers who killed him didn't know the scouters picked up everything when they're turned on. Nappa and Tarble hear this as well, and they all head to Namek, complaining there wasn't nearly enough time to train. The Z fighters, not wanting to pass up this challenge, head into space with Goku and Raditz, thanks to Dr. Brief's recently built ship. That should only take a week to get to their location. And this will end the new Saiyan saga, is what I like to call it. Like I explained earlier, this was an action-packed what if that was a lot of fun to make. You know, power scaling is always debated, but I feel like this would be a semi good growth level for the Saiyans. If you disagree, I'm more than willing to accept that. There's no proof how strong a Saiyan can grow, etc. A lot of changes have happened. Gohan wasn't mentioned at all because he's still studying to be a scholar with Chi-Chi, and Piccolo is still evil. How will this affect the story later on? Who knows? Also, I just want to ask you guys a question. Do y'all want me to start part 2 with what Vegeta and Nappa were doing during the month of training, or jump straight to the Namek arc? Can't wait to hear what you guys say, and hope to see y'all in part 2.